It was 1 degree for the start of the Golden Homes Waitaki River Race from the State Highway Bridge to Kurau. Upstream at the finish line, it had dropped to 0. 18 boats fronted with teams ready for what would be a cool day ahead in more ways than one.
There's plenty of deep water out there, I'm told. The finish line is 300 metres below the bridge.
Amongst them, 2 new players, Morgan Taylor in a race boat that hasn't seen action for many years, and Bern Lucas, who'd only discovered river racing a few weeks back at a social boating event.
Yeah, got into it by default a couple of weekends ago, went jet boating with the marathon guys, and next thing you know, here we are with a boat and engine and up the Waitaki.
With insufficient depth on the boat ramp, launching was moved across into the main stream, and that proved challenging even before the start.
Yeah, look, this is always a nervous time for all these guys, making sure their boats are going to start. So, yeah, it's around 65 k's from here up to Kurau Bridge, and it'll be bumpy and high, but at least it's clear blue water, which is lovely. So, you know, all the rain we've had in Canterbury and stuff like that, it's actually a great river to race this time of year because it's dam fed, so it's always pretty clear.
Mike Pooley was first boat away. His rocket-like time of 22 minutes couldn't be matched for the upstream leg, despite a channel he knew to avoid but somehow found himself in. Sporting his new big block A-spec engine, Lee Harrison got into things from the get-go, but was the extra horsepower making the boat more unpredictable.
Pretty early on, just come around a corner and just backed off, bit under indecision, backed off and gave it a mitful, but kind of just learning the boat and worked out pretty quickly that you don't give it a full mitful because it just lets go. So, live and learn, but got the rest of the way up. We, Andrew Scott went past us when we were getting back in the boat from the spin, or get back on the plane, and we just tucked in behind for the rest of the leg up and couldn't feel my hands, didn't wear gloves, so another rookie error we learned from.
Steve Rapsey set the early pace in CX class and would dominate the first and second legs. But right on his tail, last round class winner, Andrew Scott.
Tricky to read the river at times, coming in and out of the cloud, and you couldn't really see much when you're in the shadows. But we caught up to Lee at some point there. He'd had a spin and he must have followed us up the rest of the way, so I presume he's okay. Yeah.
Any moments in there?
We did get we went into one pool for a bit of had a wee turnaround, well, sort of a turnaround, and had to come back out and drive over a tree and stuff on the way up. And then, definitely went up the wrong channel a few times and a few big moments, but it was all good fun. Yeah.
No fun for Mark Allen. His is a classic boat in every respect, hull, engine and jet unit. And today it was the unit that gave way.
Oh, we were actually going really good. Take it nice and easy, the boat was going good, and then we just lost steering and thrust and stopped, and then we looked at the unit and it's blown the whole bowl in half. So, not good.
Our club class rookies were having mixed results. Morgan Taylor was enjoying what's possibly a rite of passage. His father Keith is well known in jet boat circles, so it was probably just a matter of time.
I remember as a kid growing up with Dad always having boats around and part of the Chromie team and all that carry on, so I thought it was time, just might as well do it, So, it's give it a crack.
What's the boat?
It's an old boat I found on Facebook, and then we've just sort of built it up from there. So it's got to prove itself before we spend any more time on it, or money.
In fact, Morgan's also running the old man's original race number, 350. Things weren't going so well though for Bern Lucas.
Run into a wee issue there with the computer making the boat go into limp mode, and we don't have a scan tool to figure out what it is, but we've got 2 dump lines off the side of the hull which we're going to block one of them off to get more flow going through the heat exchanger, and hopefully that'll solve our issue. Hopefully it's just a 1 or 2 degree thing, and then we're back racing again.
Justin Hill was quick in the criterium, but the speed differential between the fastest piston engines and the gas turbines was clearly on display.
They'll be hitting 130 odd mile an hour, and we're lucky to get 100, so it's a big gap, and it shows. We raced down the lake Dunstan in a mass start, and they went past us like we were standing still one time, and that was with a bigger motor as well.
Riley Smith was in that first wave and happy being amongst the big boys with his CX entry.
We had a real good start and just kept our eyes on our mirrors really. We knew Mike Pooley was going to catch us, and I think it was the third lap. We saw him in the mirror, so just at the top U-turn we went real wide and waved him on by, and lucky enough we actually caught Mike again and passed him, so we're pretty happy about that. You can never get to pass turbines, but...
There's a story behind that, obviously.
Yeah, he'd finished the race and he was just cruising, but we got him, so that's all that matters to us.
As it turned out, the other gas turbine of Roger Preston withdrew after the criterium, unable to start the downstream leg.
It was good pull. We just got off the back, and then we had a look under the grill, and the back of the plate that the back of the grill bolts to is hanging down. So we've pulled that alloy block out of the intake.
Lee Harrison led off the second wave of boats, and the speed of his new engine was evident.
Had Lee in front of us with the big block, so we kept him in sights for all of about 100 metres and then he was well gone. But we managed to hold our spot. We had a CX boat behind us, so it was lucky just to stay in front of him. He was slowly catching us though.
Again, Mike Pooley led downstream, burning a line through the river as he straightened corners and completed the stage in just 21 minutes and 1 second. That time and the previous two easily delivered him and Kevin Hyde first outright. With the other turbines out, any challenge would have to come from lower classes, and Lee Harrison rose to the occasion. Over a minute quicker than any other piston boat downstream, he straight-lined everything he could to ensure a win over fellow A-class competitor Justin Hill.
Nice run down, a couple of moments, a couple of shingle banks and maybe a log in the way. But yeah, clean run though.
Sure, Justin's running his smaller CX class engine, but it's been a long time since the master of non-turbines has been beaten. And Lee did it by just 3 seconds for the A-class win. Steve Rapsey had been quickest CX upstream and through the criterion, but a split in the hull that let water in saw him swallowed up by his competition. First Andrew Scott for the class win, and then Richie Foster on time to snatch second, leaving Steve to settle for third. You hit anything today that could have caused that?
Well, we've run the odd gravel bar and shelf, but nothing major. It's just race hulls. They're just tin cans that have got not much strength to them.
In FX, Stu Fitzgerald was planning to take it to the line and class leader Craig Plunkett, but he missed it, quite literally.
Yeah, just down on the left-hand side there as we goat track. Went down there, up a few pressure waves, and then up into the bank, and across the line we go. Well, we didn't even see it.
No matter, Stu, you got to finish time. A minute quicker than Craig's, who'd been banged with a 2-minute penalty for jumping the downstream start. Peter O'Sullivan rounded out the FX class podium. Morgan Taylor picked up the club class win in his first outing and will no doubt be encouraged to think bigger and faster. And they don't come much bigger and faster than Mike Pooley, a deserving winner of the Golden Homes Waitaki race for 2022. Next round is on the west coast, on the Haast and Arafata rivers. Another first for River Racing NZ.